Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Hudson with SPS back in the building for another SPS Edge Show with Terry McCoy Jr. and Coach Orlando Rockins. I see Orlando, you rocking that Detroit Fire Department, Detroit's finest, plus one and all that. And then we got Terry McCoy. But Orlando, how's things going with our utilities down there, the fire department, the police department, and all that in the city of Detroit?
It's going on. It's all good. All good. Shout out to all of the Brothers of Fire. But I did my 28 years. I'm done. So
done. Look at that. Looking like you just started. Talking about you done, man. That's good. Hey. Terry, everything good with you, man?
Yeah. Today, I forgot. Today was MLB opening day, so some of the bigger games got postponed. But baseball going to that lockout phase. Was able to put something together and have opening day. It was a little delayed, but I think this year because of the lockouts. But I mean, they were able to let bygones be bygones and have a season this year.
Yeah, they talk about that money, man. They got to get the money right. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I did share some information today. One thing to touch on, and Coach Orlando and I were talking offline about the upcoming second chance games. We know on Sunday in the city of Detroit at Henry Ford High School, Trojan Love, my former high school, Coach Kim Flowers, along with Detroit Public School Community District, is providing a senior showcase. They're going to have over 20 college coaches in attendance. It's a free event for unsigned seniors. But fresh off the press, my guy and our sponsor for the SPS Edge Show, Horatio Williams, is having an HBCU open gym. Going to have representation from several HBCUs in the building. I'm getting calls and notes all about that. And he had actually open gym yesterday that featured a lot of students. But I think it's a great opportunity. As Coach Orlando and I was talking, these D1 opportunities are going to be few and far between. You can blame the portal for that. It is what it is. And as Terry and I always say, hey, man, you got to really be able to go with those who love you. I think for so many years, these young men and women have this attitude of D1 or bust. I'm going to be on this Division I campus once they graduate from high school, but those opportunities aren't there. And like I say, sometimes you don't want them problems. Terry, you've been watching the posters I've been putting up with these second chance games. You being the one who's closest removed from the high school scene. We talked about it before, but just to talk about it again, what is it like when you see these second chance opportunities, particularly with HBCUs?
Well, it's really cool to see. One thing that I love about HBCUs, they're always advancing. And I think, for one, I always, even when I was in high school, I wish that there was more of a presence of HBCU coaches and recruits up here in Michigan, because I feel like a lot of times they just don't have the resources or, they don't really see a need to come up here. I think it's really cool to be able to have that opportunity. And two, I mean, these are free events. I don't know if I caught that the first time, but man, like just to even get
the first time, huh?
I didn't. I must have just slipped right past him. But this time, I'm like free. Like when I think about these events, even to get a college coach or to get even an evaluation, there's usually $1 sign next to it. There's usually maybe like a small fee. But I mean, these are just free events. It just shows that people are buying into, really trying to invest in the kids and, to be able to get a second chance, for free. I think you just can't pass up that opportunity.
No, you're absolutely right. You talk about the recruitment and how it may be lacking sometimes, or you seem like you don't see it. I've had the experience of being involved with HBCU. As my freshman year, I attended Morehouse College. That was more than 20 years ago. And the resources are very slender compared to these PWIs, these predominantly white institutions. But Coach Orlando and I, we were talking too. Another reason why these events seem to have such a big turnout, and I'm not knocking, but I'm saying sometimes our young people aren't prepared academically. You can show up. Yeah. It reminds me of that first day of practice, Coach, or with trials when I was a junior varsity coach and I had all these talented young men coming in there to try out. But I said, run the report cards, man. Them boys started disappearing. And it's like, it comes down to that. Brother Buchanan, he said they lacked the recruiting budget of PWIs. You were right on time. That's my guy, Daryl Buchanan, coach at Southfield A&T. That's our guy right there. We appreciate that. And you're right about that. So I think that's why we've gotten such a response. But Orlando, what's your take overall, with the need for second chance games? You've been, lock and step with Horatio for years, since the first one some 15 years ago. And here we are back at it again. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. the one that Horatio's throwing, the one that Ken Flowers is giving at Henry Ford. It's essential. There's a lot of hidden jewels that these smaller schools will come upon. I mean, we've got great players, across the state of Michigan, and a lot of these guys just get overlooked completely. So it's important that we give those guys another shot, give them truly a second chance to show what they can do.
You make an excellent point. You talk about them being overlooked. One thing I find at the times I've experienced at the second chance game, and I want to stress this to our young people, you don't always get a second chance. You don't always get that opportunity. But, what really kind of baffled me at times that I would be there and it almost be like the guys will still kind of be holding back a little bit when they have these different opportunities, Daryl says, why is the event being held during school hours? How some of the guys wanted to come. You know what, Daryl? I think going forward, it really was a matter of the coaches' availability. These guys are all coming in from out of state. It was something that was held in short time. I looked at that. I understood that. However, some coaches are making arrangements for their guys. I think it's only going to be one of many coming forward. A little secret to you that only just you and everybody on the internet can hear. There's a chance it might be extended an additional day. But it was a matter of the availability of the coaches at the time to be able to do that. But it's something we're working on, trying to be able to grow this opportunity. And SPS to be in the building, to help these guys. But the one thing I was trying to say, guys, is that, it's great that they can have a second chance game. But, man, I've been in spaces where these guys were still kind of still being too cool for school at a second chance game. This is the time to go all out.
Yeah.
I just think that our young people get so conditioned to just, there's always going to be another opportunity. And that's not the case, and then these guys who are coming in, man, as soon as they come in and check out us at this event, check out Ken Flowers at his event, they got to go somewhere else and look at so many guys. And it's only so many guys that could be on the roster. And kind of stand with that point, I shared this information with you last night, Terry. I want to say it's GSU, Grambling State. To be sure. Coach, they let their whole volleyball team go. Scholarship and all. They let them all go. And the response from the administration that actually backed them up. The administration backed up the new volleyball coach, and he called the portal out. He said this portal allows these student athletes to make choices. We can make choices too. So now, I think what we're seeing is, it goes back and forth. I think for so many, you've seen the leverage, the pendulum swing, where you have these high school coaches, these college coaches, and more importantly, who can just leave, but now you got this other situation going on. I want to go back to Daryl. My guy Daryl made a comment again. He said MHSA rules hurt HBC recruiting too. The 300-mile rule and playing and competencies where mostly HBCUs can come. You're absolutely right, man. You talk about exposure. And the one thing I think that has really gotten a lot of notoriety for this HBCU is the emotional bond we as a community have for this. People seeing HBCUs they know being represented, they shooting that information all around. I mean, it is really moving around. But I can tell you this, it won't be the last time we do something like that. We're going to look to expand it. Also, Devon Raphael Chubb says, some have the mentality, I already made it. Come on, Devon. Come on, man. He's absolutely right. The worst thing some of these young people can get there is get some hype and some notoriety early on. Because you've seen it. Let a guy get a little notoriety, and not necessarily, a direct communication from a college. It's the social media piece.
Yeah.
And it seems like all these guys just instead of, like they want to get down for the prom, they want to end up, saying, hey, I got all these different offers, and a lot of that stuff is really misleading. So before we move off the subject, Orlando, what do you think we can do, or what kind of message can we promote to kind of help these young people going forward that, let's be honest, that the second chance games aren't as needed. And when they are participating in second chance games, they can make the most of it.
Well, one, we got to get to them earlier. And we've been, crippled by, COVID the past couple of years, but they've got to be firing on all cylinders. The one thing that I tell my girls constantly, you never know who's watching you.
That's right.
Be it in practice, or be it games, or we're away games anyway, you never know who's watching. You've got to push and work hard all the way through, and that's on the court and outside of the court.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing to have these second chance games. The portal is making it even more difficult for kids to get scholarships out here. You have got to be, moving 110% at all times.
Yeah, absolutely right. Terry, what do you think is a message that we can continue to promote to help our young people take advantage of this?
I think too, just like, being able to have these experiences, it just, allows different people to be aware of what's going on, being aware of the game. And I think, Devon brings up a good point. A lot of these people think they've already made it. And, you would hate for someone to learn these valuable life lessons of opportunities every day as an audition when they hit rock bottom and they realize that they have no choice. So I think that's just so hard to kind of like, from experience, obviously we know, but I think, only one can really truly learn from these experiences and being around these coaches, and just being able to hear what they have to say to them. So I think it's really cool that it's starting to happen. Obviously, this is the first year, so it's going to be, kind of a guinea pig year to see how it goes. And as it keeps expanding, I think more and more generations to come, kids will understand how important it is to make sure that they have their best at every moment.
Yeah, you're right. I love that every day is an audition. I think our young people have to be reminded of that. And I think sometimes it takes the wisdom of just getting older to realize that. So they need to take advantage. And I do want to go back to Devin Raphael Chupp's statement. It's on the girls' side as well. You're absolutely right. And as we get ready to move off this subject, I know a number of high school coaches, and you probably experienced the same thing too, Orlando, that what happens is kid had a successful opportunity to go away and play college ball. And that first practice, when they come back, they say, Coach, everything you told me was right. Everything you told me. And now they start just becoming this witness to what's going on. Have you experienced that before, Orlando, with the kids coming back? I
experienced it. I'll get the calls 3 years removed from senior year. I understand now, Coach. Can you help me get into school? It's too late now. It's too late, but I get so many calls like that. I understand where I messed up. I wasn't focused. I get it. Do I still have a shot? No, you don't.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah. And they become the biggest, they can bring the most value when they're standing in front of their peers, because of course their peers look up to them. And that same kid who wasn't bought in is not just sitting there saying, man, I get it. Terry, have you experienced that with any of your peers or hearing guys come back after they step away from the high school level and come back and talk about how important it is to stay locked in on the high school level?
Yeah, I would say so for me, especially during the time where we were making that turnaround at Eastern and winning that conference championship. A lot of the guys previous came back and would practice and would tell us a lot of those things. And my group, was actually able to like kind of buy into that and actually kind of transform that into something great. So I can say that was like a byproduct of people coming back and letting us know something. But even for me, being able to see what it takes to invest in something and to believe as a group, I feel like I've been a witness of being a byproduct. And then as me going back and hopefully coaching this year, maybe some in the future, I can be able to attest to being able to see what it's like to buy in to learning these lessons and learning these different people telling me like, yo, working hard can actually take you somewhere. Buying in as a group can take you somewhere. Like, I feel like that was really a testament to those people believing in me and pouring into me. And I feel like, I want to be able to kind of do that for those kids at a young age. I don't want them to get to 18, 17, where this is the first time they hear these different lessons. So I think, especially here in Lansing, we're starting to see a lot more of the, like Terrence and, those guys are really pouring into kids at a younger age. So it's like day and night, it's like, it's second nature, I should say. Whenever they get older, like, oh, I need to grind, I need to work hard. So I think we're seeing it touch the younger generation really faster, which is great because when they get older, it's definitely something that doesn't have to be taught. It can just be emphasized more.
Yeah, Dale Buchanan says, you can hear me now or you can hear me later.
Right.
Blessed to hear me now. And I think here's the thing, man. Those who find success are those who mature faster.
Right.
The sooner you lock in and listen to what the coach is saying and not getting caught up on what your peers talking about who ain't accomplished nothing, the sooner you'll find success. The coach is telling you one thing, listen to me. And if you listen to that person compared to someone else, that's it. We're going to move on off this in a second, but I do want to go to a comment made by Devon again. He said, sorry to say this, Orlando had a kid that was getting a look at Rucker, but she had a mentality that she already made it. She was better than what she provided, and now she's not playing at all. Oh, man. Kids need to understand coaches that care got their best interest. Oh, yeah, man, and you're being pulled by so many, right? The coach is there all the time. The coach is there. Go ahead, Orlando.
This was a kid that was everything for the time that I had her. And then the voices came in and she listened to somebody else and moved on. So
yeah, because like the people, like once the kids start having success, everybody come in and start chirping,
right?
And you get pulled away from the person who's with them. I always say, man, when I speak to groups, I say, listen, man, I don't see nobody else in the gym right now. All I see is your teammates and your coach. Or if I'm at a football practice in the summertime, I always do that. I look out. I say, I don't see nobody else out here.
8 a.m. workouts.
Yeah. Why are you buying into people outside of that? But, that's the story we'll continue to have and continue to tell. Speaking of our sponsors, we talked about Horatio Williams and all the great things he's doing. Let's go ahead and shout H out. Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation. I was on the phone with him earlier today, doing great things, impacting people in a great way. That's my guy. We're going to have a number of events coming up very soon. Also, Gilead Sciences that's giving support as well, and Dick's Sporting Good. So now, man, we're going to just move on to the next step and start talking about NCAA championships. And we got a number of comments on deck, and I'm definitely going to get to all those right now. But hey, it's a championship, and I think it's only appropriate as we start with this. We talk about Kansas win the national championship. I got to go right to a comment from who is this? Mike's Hoop page. Mike, I'm about to give it all up to you out the gate. Say, Lindsay, in the old show, you in the way, slighted Bill Self. You say, why? And A, why? And B, you got to give him some credit for the second title. Mike's Hoops, you are absolutely right. And I will clarify something. I didn't slight him in the way. I completely dog Bill Self. I dog Bill Self. Now, here's the thing. My question is, and Mike, stay by your computer so you can respond. Wasn't that justified? Was he when he won the championship back in 2008? It's
been a minute.
And he had the grace to be able to keep his job for now to win another one? I mean, come on. You can't tell me at the beginning of the season, everybody bragging had Kansas. Castle's going Duke. Castle's going. My homeboy was going with Baylor. You was going with Baylor, right, Terry? Am I right? Did you say something about Baylor?
I had Gonzaga. And I got a lot of heat from
same here. I had Gonzaga winning it all.
Yeah, too. So in all fairness to Mike, I think my criticism was worthy of it. It's been year after year, and let's talk about this. Kansas was getting knocked out early in the tournament. Early in the tournament. So now, he got that. I give Bill Self props. And like I said, I like Bill Self. I wanted to like it, but I was getting pissed. That's like, Orlando's my guy. If I keep saying, man, you go pick me up to take me down the street, and he keep not showing up, I'm going to get pissed at Orlando too. So you make an excellent point, Mike. Hey, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? I'll put it up again. You said, Lindsay called me out. I said, the way you was like.
I was waiting for somebody to say something. As much as you hate Bill Self, I was like, I won't be the one to ask. I'm going to let, somebody else ask that question.
That's fine. I'll take that. But I'll tell you what, before I go to you, Terry, it was the game against Villanova. When I saw them boys from, jump ball to finish play Villanova, I said, oh, wow. I I don't know. Yeah. Who's going to beat these guys the way they playing from buzzer to buzzer. And shout out to UNC, man, for doing it. Oh, yeah, someone had a comment that I want to add to that while we on it. Did I go to you, Terry, and, of course, you as well?
Oh, look like we lost him, Terry.
I was going to say, he tried to.
I think the comment he was going to pull up, but I think it was earlier, and I'm going to try to pull it up. But I can't pull it up, but I'm going to find it.
About that.
Didn't want it. I think it was from Mike's Hoop page that was saying, didn't one of y'all say Nova was going to win it all? I didn't say they was going to win it all. I said they were going to beat Kansas, and I was wrong.
Yeah. Daryl said Gonzaga is a new Duke. Let me process this. What do you mean, Daryl? I don't understand. Am I missing that? Gonzaga is the new Duke, meaning what?
Is it that elite program?
Elite program
that the Blue Bloods are going to go to? From now on.
Okay, but what my question is, what about finishing, and having that title? I do want to go back to. I got to be careful not to knock us out of this again. Wait a minute. Mike said that. Oh, okay. Hoops Hype said, what does the second title do for Bill Self legacy? Is he more rings than Calipari is? Well, I think you got it, man. 2 NCAA titles, man, put you in a very elite class. I mean, Coach K, now if you talk about it, you want to be technical. for active coaches, you the done data. Because now that Coach K is officially retired and done.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any active coach that has. No. Jay Wright. Jay Wright got 2, right?
Jay Wright has 2. 2 in like the same decade, too.
Hey, man, Jay Wright ran his back so quick. He got his 2 so fast that you almost had to blink. I think, man, at the end of the day, man, winning games is hard. But to win that championship is true. But here's the one thing I'll say, and challenge me on this if necessary. When you don't have the pressure of worrying about your job, I mean, think about early on in the season when who was it, Dayton beat Kansas, popped Kansas down with the Maui Invitational.
They lost a couple of games that were like some, made you turn your head a little bit.
Yeah, but when you don't, when there was never any discussion about Bill Self being on the hot seat. I probably was the only person in America that was like, what's up with Bill Self? He got naked pictures of the chancellor or something at the university. I think when you don't have a concern about job security, one, you did win a national championship there. Hell, Tubby won a national championship at Kentucky, and he got fired. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when you don't have that pressure on losing your job and you got a job, quote unquote, for life, yeah, you're going to be able to catch one. And I'm not taking anything away from Bill Self. Whatnot. I want to make sure I got all the other comments regarding that, and we're going to definitely talk about the girls. Oh, okay, who's tight?
Just a quick question for you, Lindsay. Oh,
yeah.
All right. For both you and Terry, so he gets that second title, but what about the rumors of an FBI investigation coming behind it? It's not going to do anything to what he's won now because everybody involved in that investigation is gone. But what does that do to his legacy?
I think that, these guys have the ability to be Teflon, man. I mean, investigation and messagation. I'm making up a word, but I'm just trying to say, you like that, Terry? It's just like, they say Bill Self been about that brown paper bag for a long time. And for those who follow what I'm talking about, illegal payments, whatnot, Bill Self's a cool cat, but that Kansas Rock Talk Jayhawk, they just got so much support for him. To Hoop's high point, did UNC cake or did Kansas take it? I think Kansas took it because UNC, they had their chance. Well, let me take a step back. That run UNC went on was memorable, but I just think it came down to it, man. McCormick, I felt that I could have said that McCormick was the key linchpin in that success because player for player, you got Caleb Love with UNC, you got the big fella Armando with UNC. But that McCormick, when it came back to him, and they did it every time. They got that ball, Terry. They moved around. They threw it to the post. My man turned. He was a man amongst boys. You couldn't do nothing with that. What's your take on that?
Man, I mean, I feel like Kansas won it because I don't necessarily think UNC choked. I knew Kansas was the better team all around coming in with those two teams playing each other, but I think UNC just ran out of fire. Caleb Love getting hurt. That ankle injury was a lot more than what people expected it to be. I mean, Caleb Love just fully just lost everything since that ankle injury, missing clear layups, taking really bad shots, seems to really be flustered and kind of frustrated. I mean, he ended up shooting 5 for 24 for the game. And it just shows, man, when UNC plays a 7-man rotation, 6-man rotation. I mean, RJ Davis Jr. played 40 minutes, played the whole game. It's like you got to understand that with Kansas, they can kind of plug in guys and give guys rest. McCormick played, I think, about 29 minutes last game. So, I mean, when you got a big guy like that that's constantly staying fresh, Armando got hurt from Duke. Now he's still, re-aggravated.
He was hurt coming into the game. Yeah, he was hurt coming in and got hurt at the end.
Right. So I just feel like, when you have a team like Puff was good coming off the bench, but I just feel like he's not enough. Like, you got to have more activity off the bench. Granted, it got UNC there, but I think they just ran out of gas. And I think, what helped keep Kansas stabilized, I think Christian Brown, he had 12 points, 12 rebounds. I feel like his stability on the perimeter, playing well, was able to allow Remy Martin coming in, free him up a little bit. Abaji, was kind of fell asleep a little bit in the game and woke up later in the game. But I feel like Brown, with those 12 rebounds, was able to allow the pace to keep up. But it was just so weird to see a team with 55 rebounds in one game lose. North Carolina had 55 rebounds to cap off the game. But it just shows, man, this game can go either way. And I just feel like Kansas, like since the Villanova game, I think right off the tip, just knew they wanted it and knew they had the best team and knew they had the best opportunity to win it, and that's what they did.
Yeah. Before I go to you, Orlando, I do want to go back to Daryl Buchanan's comments. Daryl says it took Duke a minute to break through. Their players don't do the next level. So I understand that's the comparison you make in Duke and Gonzaga. Yeah, you're right. But I think also, too, so many expectations have been on Gonzaga, man, until they turn the corner, which I don't know. I wonder what their recruiting class is going to look like next year coming in. You know, Chet Holmgren is projected to be a #1 draft pick, and we'll talk about that in the next few weeks or whatnot. But I wonder what's going to happen with their recruiting class and if that is them being at the top of the mountain and working their way down. A few more comments I want to get. Our guy, our brother from another, Aaron Mays, jumps in on the whole Bill Self. He said two-wing validates Bill Self. Unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately. And I do want to make it clear, man, shout out to Bill Self for doing it, but I feel that his criticism was warranted. How you look at, come on, guys, let's go back, man. Them boys was getting popped early in the tourney. They was getting popped early and with always one of the top recruiting class because this original blue blood, if you will, people want to go play at Kansas because guys at Kansas go to the league. So you wonder what's happening with that. I want to make sure we get in all these conversations, and we're going to kind of change it up. We're going to stay with NCAA men before we get to the women. Shout out to a lot of our folks. Well, let's just talk about the Gamecocks. And somebody made a point. Don't call them Lady Gamecocks. They are the Gamecocks women basketball team. No problem. I don't want no beef. And it wasn't towards us. I saw that before. But, man, Aaliyah
what's the issue on that? What happened? Somebody?
No. You come on. It's politically correct. You drop that lady. You drop the lady.
There's no need to make that inference. And I just think that's something where, that's when people have to educate and you say, okay, I got it. I'm good. Now, the concern comes when people want to push back, and do that. It wasn't said to me. I saw that written somewhere and it just made me be conscious of the fact.
I'm glad. And I haven't been hearing it on ESPN. It's almost like so subconscious to me. It's like, it's like, ladies, like, why even do that? We don't say the men Jayhawks, like, what I mean? I just think it's one of those things where it should be self-explanatory, but we got to say those things so everybody's on the same, same level of understanding.
Yeah. Deion, I'm sorry if I'm late getting this. Deion said Caleb Love at UNC looked all world versus Duke. It was horrible in the title game. Shaking my head. Well, let's also too, man. He's a sophomore, and I don't know, good, bad, or indifferent. Him and RJ Davis as well. These are some young cats, and maybe he blew his whole wad in that Duke game because he straight up put the nail in the coffin for Duke. And I just think that it'd be great if those guys can keep it going, but and it wasn't that the stage was too big. It could have just been too much pressure on them.
No rest.
Yeah, no rest. And I haven't heard anything about these guys leaving, so they may definitely be back going forward. But I do want to get to the ladies. I'm not gonna get caught up. I'm not gonna make a Freudian slip and say that. But shout out to South Carolina, man. Aaliyah Boston, man. There was how social media catches people having these different conversations. There was a young lady, man, girl, like she probably was like 5 or 6. She was kind of waiting for Aaliyah to speak. And she said, "Hey, Aaliyah." And Leah turned and said, "Hi." Man, that little girl turned to the camera, man, almost made me go into tears because the girl was touched that Aaliyah just casually just said hi, was being present. And that little girl turned, man, and she was about to cry, man, because of that. But shout out to the Gamecocks, man, the women's basketball team doing it again. I know that one of our, maybe it was Tony. I want to look at. She said she had a question regarding that, and bear with me if you will. As I pull that up, I think it's a fair question. We had talked about this before, and I just want to touch on it again once I pull up what Moni said. Okay, Moni did say one of the coolest moments was when Leah Boston, of all people, tells Candace Parker she loves her. It tells you ladies in college to look up to Candace Parker. You're absolutely right. But there was another comment as well. Okay, it was Letitia. My apologies. Hey, Letitia. In South Carolina, the new dynasty in college basketball. They got the top recruits class coming in next year. Don Staley is the top coach in the game. Guys, I think we had a thorough discussion about the term dynasty. And I think for me, correct me if I'm wrong, what we have to do, Letitia, and we appreciate you checking in, is put a preference on the word dynasty and say potential dynasty. Because when you talk about dynasty, you got to give it up to Gino over at UConn, how they ran the table like that. You're talking about, multiple national championships in one person's era. So I think we have to find another term to use. I think we can say dominant in South Carolina, the new dominant program with recruiting and wins, because 2 national championships, which is amazing within a short amount of time. But there are other programs that we've witnessed that's had, we got, you kind of got 11. You know what I'm saying? Am I right? I mean, when you get to the point where you got to put at least 2 rings on one finger, when you get to that Bill Russell kind of thing where you got to kind of hold them all in the middle of your hand, I think that has been the standard for dynasty. So, Letitia, I appreciate it, but I will be careful to call it a dynasty. I would say the new dominant powerhouse in college basketball, but you're going to have to win. You're going to have to win a lot more to be called that. Okay, so I guess the question to you, Terry, is this. What's the number for dynasty? Could 2 or more be considered dynasty? I'm open to that, but what's the number of national championships you got to have to be considered a dynasty?
I say frequency matters too. I think if they were to get another one, and then if they were to get a three-peat, I think they could argue and say it's a dynasty. But I think
because it's 3 or because it happened in such succession.
Because it happened in such a succession. I think frequency matters with dynasty a little bit. Okay. But I think as far as like overall legacy, and we're looking back 10 years in the future, and we're like, man, what was that dynasty? I think getting at least maybe 5 of the decade. I think 5 of the decade will be nice. I think that's dynasty worthy. And I think, it just shows, that, you have Henderson, who's senior on the team with 26 points. That these 2 teams actually played earlier this year, and South Carolina dominated them then. So it's like I expected this because, although UConn shot better than them in most of the categories, they only shot 4 free throws. South Carolina shot 26. So it's like South Carolina is the clear aggressor, the most dominant physically and, mentally, psychologically coming in because they beat them before. So it just shows South Carolina was just ready for the moment. And this wasn't a good UConn team. I'm actually surprised they made it this far. I wouldn't have picked them to go that far. I had NC State beating them. So I was actually, good for Paige and Gino for making it this far. But, man, no one was really competing with that South Carolina team, other than maybe Louisville, who came up short, and maybe NC State. So, man, props to Dawn Staley. She had the drip on with the jacket and, with her paper hold up like this in a row. So, man, she's so fun to watch. And Zaya Cook balling out, and Aaliyah Boston, I don't need to say more. I mean, the internet does as she should, I should say. So, I mean, just a clear number 1 pick if she decides.
Orlando, I'm looking at Pooh's comments. He said, think about it, in 2016, Don Staley has 2 titles. Gino has 0. Yeah, he got 11 overall, but them 11 titles not helping him now. Don is maybe the best point guard ever to see relate to. To that point, but also, too, as I let you go, Orlando, I was going to say I just saw something what Aaron said, and I don't know if he said this perfect. I want to jump on that. He said Dawn Staley in South Carolina is the next dynasty in women college basketball. She is absolutely beats him. I don't know if you wanted to make an emphasis on next, Orlando, but I would like to put next quotations and say that. And I hope Letitia will be cool with that. That's just my take. What do you think, Orlando?
I think powerhouse is more apropos to
how would you define
right now?
Someone, how are you defining powerhouse?
I'm talking about making that Sweet 16 run year in, year out. The portal has changed the game.
Literally
at this point. Right now, these kids can just bail. I mean, if you really start watching what's going on at Tennessee right now, and the players that are funneling into Tennessee, leaving other programs, these other smaller schools or other schools that have the wherewithal, and I know it's a topic that we're going to talk about a little later, and have that Neal money, are going to be able to do like the Yankees. Let's go back to the baseball. They're going to be able to do like the Yankees, buy a championship at this point. So do I love Dawn State? Love her. Do I love South Carolina? Fantastic program. But I think the days of dynasties are over.
Because it could be so much moving. I agree with that. I think we are yet to see the effects of the portal. I think people had no idea what effects were going to be had. I'm just going back to check the comments because I appreciate all of our followers and the comments they make, and I want to make sure that the comments are appropriate for the topic, meaning that I got everybody as well. Yep, going back to Letitia. So with that, we can talk about a little bit of men's college basketball because I know some comments were made. Daryl talked about Gonzaga being a new Duke. Also, Dion's Hoope says, what's the future of Michigan State going to be basketball-wise? So let me go back. Moni had a good question. He said, thoughts on Max Christie entering the draft? For that, I think it's a good move. He has not hired an agent. He's Terry don't like it. Make Terry giving Terry the bubble guts. I think what it is he knows that he's a top recruit, and I think he came to Michigan State with that. My thought is that he's doing like Aaron did a few years ago. He's coming to kind of see what they're going to tell him he needs to work on. He's going to come back, and within the next year or two, he'll do it. But Terry, you say, no way, no how. I don't even want you doing it. I don't even want you messing around.
Well, that move is very common right now for them to test the water.
Yeah, I'm just hoping he doesn't fully submit it and goes through with it. I'm all for going and like testing the waters like EJ Liddell did and Hunter Dickinson did last year, kind of feeling the water and then bailing out. But I just think he's a year or two away from being a really prolific scorer because I think he has the IQ, he has like the body type, but I just feel like he's a year or two away from being one of Izzo's greatest players because I think he just has that he just has that scoring twitch where he's able to get to his spots. He's just not well seasoned yet. Like he's really raw. And so I just hope he doesn't go through with it and goes to the draft because I think he's just a product willing to be made in that Izzo system. He just needs a little more grit and grind. And I think he'd be a great player.
Yeah, I like that with Gabe. But shout out to Tion Green, my man, Tion Green. He said so many great questions they're asking. Hope you get them on. Sorry, I would change the peak background. We good, man. That was on me, man. But he said, I'm a man. He said last week, I'm a man. I made reference to Tion not being that. Appreciate you, man. You make a good point. That we do have some great questions. I'm over here hustling, man. Make sure our folks are recognized. I appreciate you guys. I'm on it. Terry McCord Sr. said they probably could have had 3 championships. 2020, the COVID year, they had the best team too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It could have happened like that. And Letitia is also recognizing the Boston girls showing love to Candace Parker. Oh my G, the net was trolling, saying she cursed Gino. Yeah, Candace been pissed at Gino. But you know what? This is what happens when you end up getting a platform. Because if she was just, a young lady who played, had a quote unquote mediocre career, her comments wouldn't get any traction. But Candace, man, is about to end up being one of the most influential voices. She'll probably be what Cheryl Miller could have been. And we had talked about that sometime, but it's going to be able to have that.
You think she'll coach?
Huh?
You think she'll coach or stay like influencer analyst type?
I know that my thought, that's an excellent question, Terry. I think that she will have the opportunity to. It's a question if she wants to. I think she has the opportunity to. It'd be a question if she wants to. And think about it on any level, collegiate, in the pros, but it also could be being a pro. She know what it's like, and she may not want the pro.
She got the grit. She got that twitch to her. She got that grit to get players to play. So I think it'd be interesting for her to be like at Tennessee. Maybe she takes over there. That'd be dope.
That would be dope too. Devon Raphael Chubb says Pat Summitt said the best rebounds win championships, and he also added to the conversation about 4 or more is his definition for a dynasty. So I think that what we've come to is Dawn Staley in South Carolina. They're the next dynasty. They are a powerhouse, and once we get to 3+, we can start using that term dynasty. I want to make sure I got everybody for this. There also are a few more college comments. Who ball scoop? We appreciate you. He said, breaking news, Duke gets 5-star players, Tyrese Proctor on 2023 class, and Sky Clark commits to Illinois.
Sky Clark, yeah.
I got a question for you guys. With Coach K, being done going forward, and you look at Roy Williams had transitioned, and here is his most recent, team is in the championship game. Is this going to be that Duke's legacy will continue to be, no matter who the coach is, Duke will continue to get these 5-star players? And my question is, how long will that last? Will that last for the next 1 or 2 years, Orlando? Or will this always be, look, Coach K or not, it's a Duke, it's a blue blood program, highly rated, so on and so forth. So will they continue to get these kind of, right now it's kind of like a residual effect. Okay, same folks recruiting. And matter of fact, my thought is, and we'll talk about this in the next segment, the people in the next segment or two, the people who recruited these guys aren't even there no more. But do you think, Orlando, they will continue to get these top prospects, these 5 stars, even several years into Coach Shire's coaching tenure?
I'd give it a 5-year period. I mean, Duke is going to be Duke, the school of legend, no matter who's there. So after you have to give it 5 years. I mean, the structure is still there. The school is still prestigious. You're still going to get a hell of an education. So you're going to have that history that's going to linger on. But after 5 years, I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
What you think, Terry?
Man, I think, one thing that I love about Coach K, we're seeing a lot of his former players still there. So, I mean, we're seeing the culture of what Coach K, really established at Duke still there. I mean, we're seeing Emil Jefferson still on the sideline. Nolan Smith just leaves. He was one of the guys I was going to bring up this week. Like, he's always been there helping out. Shire, looking like he's going to be the head coach. So I think, it's really cool to see that there's still that pedigree over there of like Coach K and his apprentices around him and learning from him, the great master. So I think it's going to be really cool to still have that there. Obviously, the boosters and the donors are still going to buy in. Right. And I think, with Carolina still competing, and I think with Davis on the other side, I think people, too, they hear the noise. And I think we talked about it, too, on our show leading up to the Final Four. Man, there are a lot of North Carolina fans around there. I don't think Duke's ready to let Carolina fully take over after this large run. They beat them 2 times in a row. One was on the biggest stage, and the other one was on Coach K's final home game. So I think Duke is going to continue to apply pressure. It doesn't matter if Coach K or not. I think there's still that arrogance, that swag, that Duke swag that they're always going to have, and not let Carolina take over the state.
Yeah, do we call it the alumni effect? The alumni is not going to let these programs just disappear without a fight.
Yeah, I think the term is the Iron Dukes is what they call them. The Iron, that's like the group of people that brought Coach K in, wanted to get rid of Coach K early in his tenure, and they still involved in all and also that brotherhood of those alumni guys that had referred to and Devon is talking about. Daryl Buchanan said, "My boys couldn't close, and I don't see them having long careers on the NBA level. Well, overseas might be great for them." Very good. One more comment on this, Devon. We appreciate you coming, man, and what you're sharing. You said Netta Johnson Rhymes and Nalissa are true beasts, and I can't wait to see them on the next level. You're absolutely right. So Daryl also said, and this is kind of in tune, he said, Pistons pass on Chad. You don't like Chad Holmes?
Please.
Terry, too, Terry. I like Chad, man. I like Chad.
No, if there's a chance to get Pablo. And if Pablo doesn't work out, get Jabari Smith Jr. Do not get Chet.
And I know we're going to end up doing an NBA draft piece. And just quickly, guys, we won't be on next week. My daughter has an art fair at school. Got to put family first. But following week, we'll probably dig into that NBA draft. But you like Pablo over Chad or Jabari over Chad, huh?
For sure. I love Chet. I love his attitude. I love his game. I'm just nervous that it's going to be another Porzingis. I'm nervous where it's going to be where his game doesn't fully translate, and it's just a big project that a team stuck with for 4 years. I don't want the Pistons. We've been trending up. Cade has brought this team. It's a different culture. They have been playing really well. We need to get a Pablo Banchero. We need to get dudes Banchero. Excuse me. We need to bring like a Jabari Smith, a good guy to complement Cade Cunningham. I don't really see Chet complimenting him. I could be wrong. I could be flat out wrong.
On that wing, he can put the ball on the floor. He can get up and down with everybody.
He can
add to what's going on.
Hey, he can mess around and be the rookie of the year. But right now, if I had to make my decision today with my gut, I'm choosing Pablo Banchero because that dude is an absolute beast. He balled out in the Final Four. He just came up a little short, but I love his game.
Well, we still got a little bit of time before the NBA draft, and those things switch. People was talking about R.J. Barrett being the first-round draft pick a while ago, and you see what happened with that. So with that being said, again, shout out to our great sponsors that talk about the guy all the time, but we just appreciate what he's doing for us, referring to Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation. Shout out to H, Gilead Sciences, as well as Dick's Sporting Good. Moving on to the next subject, and Orlando kind of touched on a little bit. little while ago. We're going to go talk about that in a second. And we got some NBA questions that we'll make sure we definitely get to. But what I want to talk about now is this NIL. You know, Terry, you're really helpful in sharing some information as far as who getting that NIL money, man. You know, the name, image, and likeness money. And I think a lot of people would be surprised. And if we were betting, a lot of people would lose those bets, Orlando, as far as where they thought the money was being driven to. But, you know, the immediate trend I see out the gate is that these young ladies are taking full advantage. Paige Buckers, talking about $62,000. You can talk about the highest earning potential per social media post. Haley Van Lith, Louisville, $37,000. Paulo, we were just talking about, 9.9. Cameron Brink, 8.8. Zaya Cook, 7.9. I mean, unless the person just had a bias towards young ladies, you know, we're seeing these women are really cashing in. And I remember early on having a conversation. I don't know if you had touched on it as well, Orlando, saying, man, these women got an opportunity to be the clean up. So I'll start with you, Orlando, with your keen insight that you have on just female hoops, being a coach of, you know, women's basketball. Why do you think that these young ladies are able to kind of stand out, you know, as it comes down to the name, image, and likeness opportunity?
Because they're hitting a market that normally basketball was unable to hit, and that's a female market. They want to expand their market. They want young ladies. They want women involved in sports. That's their market base. But with this NIL, there's so many strange things going on. You know, and I try to follow it, but it's just absolutely incredible. And my hat's off to the kids that are getting these deals, because the majority of these kids have to have a rock solid social media presence and the ability to push out social media and to get followers. And it's incredible that, you know, they're able to maintain, you know, that stringent athletic schedule. They're trying to get their education, and now I got to be on TikTok and then push this product. But the NIL gives an opportunity not only for, and that's why you're looking at the films, not only for advertisers to reach new markets, but it gives the opportunity for businesses that typically would not have a chance to be able to advertise in that market to absolutely do it. I've seen kids getting NIL deals from credit unions.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Doug Eddard, but he got a deal with Buffalo Wild Wings. Right. You know, they're a bigger corporate, but you can have your mom and pop shop getting a piece of the advertising basketball wise to, you know, normally there was, you know, exclusive to Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever, big names. Now everybody can get in on it.
Well, a lot of times too, and I'll get you, Terry, a lot of times too, man, what you're looking at is that the athlete has already done the hard work. They've already penetrated the market. They've already got the name out there, and they have a following that's there, as opposed to what the company would have to spend to do all those market penetrations. You know, it's all about how many times you see something. So if the athlete has already had a loyal following for X amount of years, so many people, they've done the work. So all they got to do is say, I'll throw you a little bit more money, and it comes out cheaper than what I got to spend. Terry, you did a good job in bringing this graphic up and bringing it to our attention. What's your take on it? And are you surprised that the young ladies are dominating as it relates to the market potential?
I'm not, just because, you know, with Paige, you know, she was in the same year with Jalen Suggs. They were doing a lot of stuff for, like, you know, Ball's Life, Overtime, doing a lot of, like, behind the scenes YouTube stuff. And they were getting a ton of views from it. This is before NIL, of course. And then, you know, now she's still in college. She's able to benefit from that. Haley, too. Like, Haley had A Day in the Life with Slam, and that got quite a bit of views. So I think the women, to me, and this may be a personal thing, the women are more down to earth to me, because it's like, you know, they're a lot, you know, more personable. They're really chill when they do their day in the life. It's really cool to see what they do. They may be more approachable, and I really appreciate that. I think a lot of times the guys, man, they act too cool, and we've seen that, where it's just like, oh, they're unreachable, or they got their mind on other stuff. And I think the women realize that, you know, their impact. I think, you know, women are getting more involved in the game, whether it's women that don't play or women that do play. I think representation matters. And I think that, same with you guys are saying with these businesses who you wouldn't even think would want to, have women, represent their brand, or they think that they'll be able to touch the women audience, are really changing their mind about some stuff and having Paige do different commercials, having Haley do commercials, Zaya Cook do different commercials, because they realize that stuff brings people in on a business side. And two, I think it just impacts it, the culture itself, and being able to see different people play. And I think, just seeing, these different stats come out, it shows that the NIL bill, is actually, beneficial to athletes. We're seeing players be able to make a profit from their hard work. And I think, the women, that was one of the things we were worried about coming in when it first passed, about Title IX, about all these different rulings. And, just because they're up top, these are the more, popular athletes. That doesn't mean it's everyone, which I understand that, but it's a start. It's an advancement for women's sports starting to make more of their mark in the sports world. So I would see this as a push forward. It's progress. We're seeing things work out.
I see it. You got something else you want to add, Orlando?
Well, my question to you guys, I mean, for me, because I actually found a graphic really even by conference. So that's where it goes. So the number one conference as far as total compensation between athletes, number one is the Big Ten.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Number two is the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Number three is the Big East. Number four is the Pac-12. Number five is the SEC.
Wow.
6 ACC. 8 Mountain West. 9 the Sun Belt Conference. And number 10 MAC, the MAC. So you can see a lot of things, and you're watching a lot of these schools really play it smart. A lot of the colleges are getting group NIL deals for walk-ons, and to kind of fill in scholarship money.
Sure.
But I mean, but for me, as this thing progresses, what does this do to high school athletics at this point? Because the high school athletes are astute, they're intelligent. They know, okay, if I'm going to go to the next level and I see all this NIL money, now I have to build this incredible social media presence. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, you're right.
Now you got a bunch of athletes now that feel that their priority, right next to education. I've got to get my YouTube count up. I got to get my Instagram count up, and they're going to be working towards that. I mean, how does that affect high school? Because it all kind of rains down. How is that going to affect high school athletics at this point?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is at the start of the show, we're talking about the second chance games, where it could very well be that the attention is on the wrong thing right now for a lot of these athletes. They're kind of putting the cart before the horse. They're trying to get out and get their branding opportunities up, but yet and still they're not doing the things they need to do to even get recruited. So you got a high school athlete that's so focused on their branding, their name, image, and likeness opportunities that coach is saying you really don't do it for us. So I think it has to be really organic in the sense that you got to be a great player. And by being a great player, you need to be able to build your brand going forward and have the intangibles that a brand is going to want to be associated with you. And it doesn't matter how bad you want it. I remember back in 8th grade, I said my goal was to go to the NBA. And for the record, I was a damn good ball player. But when it got to the point where I wasn't getting no run and I wasn't getting in there, and by the time I was a senior, I had to make a choice of what I was going to do. But it didn't help that my mother didn't let me go to camp that 8th grade summer for stealing her car keys. That's another conversation for another day. The point being, they come to find out Terry, the coaches was looking for me and everything. Changed my whole trajectory. But anyway, my point being is, when you talk about what we started, that got you good, Terry, huh?
Yeah, I was like, man.
Yeah. When we talk about what we talked about at the beginning of the show, the second chance game, meaning male and females need an opportunity when that normal window was gone, it just makes me worry that sometimes that the focus is on the wrong thing. And I want to go back real quick, and then, Terry, if you want to respond, you definitely can. Look at these people we're talking about: Paige, Haley, Paolo, Cameron, Zaya. These are some of the top players in the country. You know what I'm saying? These ain't no second chance kids. Shout out to the second chance game, but these ain't the kids that's trying to get that junior college opportunity in the 11th hour. These are kids that have been on the top program's radar since probably 5th, 6th, 7th grade going forward, and they're cashing in. And at the end of the day, this is still a small minority of college athletes. Let's keep that in mind too. And I think it's too easy to get caught up on that, going forward. What do you think, Terry?
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of times too, which I think, if there's something that we have to keep an eye on, I would just say, I think a lot of people are going to kind of just have their expectations really high. I think, if you're going to have goals, I think we do have to be really realistic about them. And I think, seeing that like Paige and Haley, Pablo, Zaya Cook, I think it's really hard to kind of say and look at your platform and compare it to theirs. You can't. Like, it's impossible. So I think seeing all these things, I think players may begin to look down on themselves, but I think that's where we have to step in. Like, it's okay to go play, D2 basketball or D3 basketball or junior college or NAIA. Like, those opportunities will be there. It's not to say that you're not good enough for that. It's just that you get an opportunity to play collegiate basketball. Like, we understand, I think all of us understand that, like, playing Division I basketball, there are a lot of things that have to be in line in order to get that opportunity. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Like, the percentages of you be able to play a women or male, I think it's really slim. It's like 1%. It's like the 1% of athletes that get to make it. So I think too, even the people that are able to make an NIL money that are at like Olivet or at Concordia or at these other schools, I'm seeing them get deals with like local business chains here in Lansing. So it's like, it's always going to be there. It's how you represent yourself. It's how you place yourself. That's what matters, because you could be playing at Northwood and get a Muscle Milk deal in your area, like a Muscle Milk franchise in your area that sponsors you. Maybe you get Run Gum or like crazy brands that we don't think of. Money will follow where you're at as long as you're about your business. So I think a lot of times with that, people see all these, they got from Gatorade or they got from, from a PlayStation or all these bigger corporations. Never underestimate the small business money, because that money can move too. And I think a lot of times people don't always think about their impact in their city.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I've seen NIL deals be given out from dentists.
That's smart. But the key is you gotta have talent. You got to have talent. Talent before Twitter. You got to have substance. Substance before the social media. You can't, it's the talent that's going to make you stand out. We're having a really good show, guys. I want to move to the next segment. And this is something I'm really excited about, man. I love seeing people in their comment, man. I want to talk about these college coach announcements. One that was kind of off my radar, young lady Carrie Moore is now the Friends of Harvard women's basketball head coach. She has roots here in the state of Michigan, was over at Detroit Country Day, also assistant with the University of Michigan, and she's going to get the keys to the Harvard program. I think that is awesome. You can see where they're putting their money at the Friends of Harvard. What happens sometimes is that certain alumni groups get naming rights to the head coaching position. I forget what the name of the full name of the University of Michigan head coach is, but it's a family name that goes in front of it. But, I want to congratulate her, from being high school, college, and getting your own opportunity. So now look at what is being presented over there at Harvard. If I got it right, Tommy Amaker as well as Carrie Moore. And you see there's a little Michigan type connection going on. Tommy Amaker once leading up to Michigan program as well. What do you think when you see that, Terry, Carrie Moore taking on this role over at Harvard?
I mean, I got to point out the obvious. I mean, a Black woman, a head coach at an Ivy League school, man, we just talked about representation. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how that Harvard team, is able to, kind of, what the culture will be like, I should say, because, she'll be able to advocate for kids in areas that would not be looking at Harvard. I'm guessing she's going to want to recruit in areas outside of what was already there. So she may be going to Chicago.
You don't want to recruit in Michigan. You know that.
Right.
Pipeline. Yeah.
But it's just a thing where it's like, they're able to see a coach who they can relate with. Same with Juwan Howard. He's able to put his nose in other areas and put his neck out for some players that are in different areas because he understands. So, I mean, just a great opportunity, in a place, Ivy League schools where even as students, black representation, they're trying to work on that. But I think, being able to have a coach in there, a Black woman, if that, just being able to advocate and be around and be in that culture and that community. So what a great opportunity, you know, grinding from high school and going to college and then maybe WNBA. But if she, you know, I would understand if she wants to stop there and build something at Harvard. So, you know, it's just really cool to always see, you know, a story where they're grinding up, and, you know, it definitely shows what kind of person she is. She honors her space and honors her opportunities again, and is able to get even greater opportunities.
Yeah, Harvard is continuing to show progressive moves with that. What do you think about that, Orlando? Kerry Moore taking on?
I agree. I absolutely agree with Terry. That gives, you know, that opens the door for a lot of kids, because we know a lot of kids in our area in Michigan and in urban environments, they are more than capable of doing that work at Harvard, but never think about even attempting to make that move. She just opens the door for a lot of these kids to really look at, you know, really kind of making that move to that Ivy League school. So I think it's a beautiful thing. So
yeah, absolutely. That's a great thing. Shout out to her. We'll keep an eye on Kerry Moore, her progress, wishing her all the best. Next, another coach announcement. Shout out to my guy, Cornell Mann, Grand Valley State basketball. Cornell Mann is taking over at GVSU. He's had an extensive coaching career from stops at Western Michigan University, stops at Oakland University, and most recently at Missouri. Was also at Iowa State, and is getting the keys, man. He's getting there. You know, I love it when I see assistants get the opportunity to call their own timeouts, make their own decision, and he's a relentless recruiter. So I think that's really going to raise the stakes for GVSU. Is going to get some folks up there. He's been in my inbox plenty of day, like, Lindsay, what you got? What's going on out here in these streets? And we always talk, and I'm happy to be able to support Cornell going forward. GVSU, is that on your radar now, Orlando? That make that trip up there look a little different going on to the west side of the state?
Make it a whole lot different. Cornell, he has paid his dues and is well deserving, and I expect a lot of changes and quickly.
Quickly. I think GVSU for a long time, man, has been a state school that hasn't really been popular for anybody. I can't even tell you. You know, the leadership that was there. I believe their last coach he stepped away after 18 years. So that means for the last 2 decades, the fact that it's not even on our radar is talking about what they were about, who they were recruiting. Now I know Man is trying to come through the city, and he got national connections all over. Terry, what's your thought on GVSU getting some fresh blood, somebody who has strong ties? Has had some success everywhere he's gone. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess in that conference, I mean, I guess the only team I really hear about is Fair State. But I mean, I just seeing that, you know, I think you guys are right when it comes down to GVSU. Other than football, I really don't hear about them. And, you know, what a way to make a splash on a guy that's been on that level of coaching, whether it's D1, you know, regardless of the level, he's been there. He has that experience. So I think being able to have that, GVSU is a great funded school. That school has a ton of money, being on the west side of the state. So I think, you know, as long as they buy into him, and I think we're going to talk about that later with DJ, I think, you know, just being able to have a place that buys in to you, you know, wanting to bring you in, I expected to see some changes, because it takes the whole boosters, AD, and players and all that. It takes all that to be able to rebrand the culture, especially on the college level.
Yeah, and I think there's been a whisper of GVSU moving to D1, and to talk about that, moving up to D1. I think that had a lot to do with Cornell's coaching candidacy. Better say, hey, I'm the man to help you guys make that transition. So that could be part of bringing them on board. And man, that'll be saying a whole lot. That'll be another great opportunity. And I think it's an excellent opportunity for recruiting purposes as far as what Cornell's going to do, man. So I'm really, really happy for him going forward. And another coaching change that made a lot of noise going to my alma mater. Shout out to Dwayne DJ Stevens. They say, welcome to Kalamazoo, the new head men's basketball coach. DJ has been at Michigan State for 19 years, the past 10 years as associate head coach. Very huge confidant with Coach Izzo, a mean recruiter, boy. He's a mean recruiter, and he's going to be 80 miles away. It's funny. They must have said, whoever we hire, we're going to put him on the jet. So they put DJ on the jet from East Lansing to Kalamazoo. So he probably was on the jet for about 12, 13 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But they're like, hey, man, hey, we got to bring you in on the jet, baby. Somebody was saying, where he flying from? They're like, Lansing? Like, no, I think that's great. Again, someone – actually, DJ and Cornell are cousins of Terry. I don't know if you knew that, but that's family. Oh, yeah, that's family. That's Ferndale's finest. Those guys are real tight. So it's ironic, and we'll talk about it later when I talk about Malik Carr, who's a tight end and two-way player, two-sport player at Michigan State. That's Cornell Mann's son. And so there's a strong connection there. But, yeah, I'm happy for DJ, man. I think the biggest challenge these guys have, I'll never forget when I talked to Mike Garland years ago, the challenge these guys has is when someone like DJ leaves a Michigan State program and turns around and goes over to, Western, it's the budget change. Now, he ended up getting a $50,000 boost in the salary. If this is all public information, it goes from $350 to $400 racks. So that's cool. But, it's not the same as far as the type of resources you have. When you talk about, Big Ten versus MAC, I think that's the adjustment these guys have to make. I remember Thomas Kelly, TK, he was a graduate assistant at, Michigan State, and now he was on the coaching staff at Western. I don't know if he's going to stay, but he went from having all that Nike swag to that Nike swag, fresh Nike swag, right? And then he said, "Yeah, we with Adidas now," and whatever. And he wasn't ungrateful, but it's just a shift. And again, Mike Garland, when he left Michigan State years ago, Orlando, you probably remember that he went over to Cleveland State. Now that's you go from Big Ten to Horizon League. He said, boy, he was like, "Hey man, we don't have no phones, we don't have this, we don't have that." I'm sure some changes have been made. But Terry, I'll start with you. What do you think about when you hear DJ, who's been a stalwart, been a huge presence at Michigan State, make his way over to Western Michigan?
Well, I knew they needed a definite upgrade. I remember going to a Western Michigan game 2 years ago. And even just seeing them play Michigan State this past year, there's just really no kind of like flavor or no kind of intensity towards it. Even their basketball arena, I'm like, I read an article, they're talking about maybe committing to get a new arena. I'm like, it's about time. Like their arena has like an indoor track around it, and it's just kind of weird.
I was at Western when they built the arena. That was new because it's connected to the intramural facility. But that's where they were coming from before they were playing in the field house.
I'm just like, that's definitely something. Now, when we talk about recruiting battles, man, just the facility itself, that's supposed to be the best part. The player walks out on the court that they might be playing on, and they're like, "What is this? I'm walking across an indoor track and all this." Like, it's just really nice to see an AD willing to, commit and be willing to, to help DJ out, whether it's with facilities, whether it's with, that boosted salary. It shows that they're about their business. When they want to pay extra to get a great caliber coach to come in and really take over the program, it shows they're about business and money talks. So whether that's getting DJ in and boosting that salary, you getting a new arena, being able to pay for new like weight room and facilities and, different recruiting trips, all that stuff is going to be worth it. When you have a guy like DJ in there. I mean, there were talks about DJ being one of the primary people that was responsible for Izzo's defensive schemes. DJ was putting a lot of that together. So it shows, man, the basketball IQ is there. I was really thinking it's about time, but I think DJ was selective, and I think he knows something that we don't just yet, that they're willing to buy into him and really bring in, a ton of recruits. Great recruiter, like you guys said, and I think, with him being able to kind of get some of the good people. It's Division I. I mean, they have the same opportunity as the Big Ten, but the whole point is being able to kind of create that energy there as a mid-major team. So I think it'd be really interesting, and he deserves it a lot. And I think he's really selective with the hiring process of where he wanted to go, and he found his home.
Well, as I bring you in, Orlando, there is a backstory to that. This is 2 years in the making at least. He was supposed to go in 2020, but the pandemic stopped. This is public information. They write about this. The pandemic, Izzo was pushing for him to get the job, but what they did is they stopped having this is at the height of the pandemic. They stopped having outside interviews. So they ended up hiring the coach that they had. They ended up eventually getting a new athletic director. Kathy Beauregard had been the athletic director for some time. She's no longer in that role. I don't know if anything unfortunate happened to her. I have to check that. But this was supposed to happen in 2020. Pandemic put it on hold, and now he's come on over to do that. What's your thoughts, Orlando?
I think I agree with Terry. Terry's almost always right. I'm not gonna say always right. He almost always right. But I mean, it's a clear indication to me that with DJ taking that job, is that Western is gonna open up those purse strings.
Run that.
I can't see him going. Huh?
It's a new AD too, so it's
Yeah,
new
I can't imagine him making that move without that commitment to open up that budget for me to make this thing happen. And if I mean, and he's the right choice to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
so
and like everything is there for him. You've got the portal. You've got everything. He can make some major moves there,
and he's a
he's
recruiter
the guy that can pull it off.
Yeah, and he even talked about that when he made the move. Two things I want to talk about. Even in the press conference, you saw the visual of that Michigan State support, like all the staff came there for him. So I think what that's saying is, look, we're not Michigan State, but we're going to be like Michigan State. So we want to be able to model that. So that means, like you said, you're right, Orlando. They're going to open up the purse strings. This is a new athletic director. He wants to make a splash. And DJ having the experience he had, that's going to be huge. So I guess the question becomes, which program, respectfully, do you see having the most success sooner with these new coaches coming on board within their relative, conference? Does DJ make a splash immediately in the MAC? Does Cornell make a splash immediately? I forget which conference that is that he's going to be with. Or if they're moving up to Division I.
Is it the Baaaack?
I think it's the Baaaack. Yeah.
So I wonder who may get the traction the soonest. Who do you guys think may end up making moves the soonest?
Cornell.
Cornell? Why do you say Cornell, Orlando?
You're in a smaller environment. Until they make that transition to Division I, it's going to be easier for him to move and pick up these pieces a lot quicker. Because I mean, although he's not dealing with the scholarship money, that DJ has, he can hit the local area kids that are just missing that mark.
Yep.
Just by name alone, he's gonna pull in. He's gonna pull in. I mean, because so many coaches around here respect him, men's coaches, that it's an automatic now. All he has to do is make a phone call. They're probably calling him right now. Hey, look, I got this point guard, this 20. He was gonna go to Wayne State, but here,
Yeah, I mean, DJ is a big guy. He lights up the room. He represents Michigan State legacy. But Cornell, man, got presence. Cornell comes in. He might put that ascot on, come in. He go work the room and get what he got to get. There's one more coaching change. There's been several, but I think this is very noteworthy too. Nolan Smith, I won't even say long time Duke assistant, because he hasn't been in that role for a relatively long time. He was part one of the last Final Four runs that Coach K had a brief cup of coffee in the NBA, came right back home. I think he was a Dabo, the director of basketball operations, but the power move he made, Terry, he made a power move to Louisville, not just going to Louisville. Like, I'm coming in as associate head coach. That right there is leveraging who your guy is. That's Coach K's influence, because I'm happy for the brother. I love it. But come on, man. DJ was an associate head coach for 10 freaking years before he was able to go get a head coaching job. Now, my man coming in out the gate as associate head coach, I ain't mad at him. But can you see where I'm getting at? Doesn't that seem a little like, wow, that's like, he got blessed by the Godfather to come out the gate? Or is that just me reading too much into it? What do you think, Terry?
No, I think Coach K definitely advocated for Nolan. I think Nolan is, has always been talked about his IQ and his just, his understanding of the game.
They said he's a great recruiter too. Sorry to interrupt. They said he's responsible for this recruiting class. See, what's happening is all the great recruiters are leaving. All the great recruiters are going to get their own programs. So the programs they're transitioning from will be impacted by that. But to your point, Terry, I know Coach K is on him, but it must be that he has some other opportunities, because to be able to come in as associate head coach, man, you got leverage.
Yeah.
For you to say, hey, man, we want to come to Louisville, like, man, I'm only coming if I'm the associate head coach. Come on. Or that's what they offered him to get him to come there compared to somewhere else. You follow what I'm saying?
I think they might have known, and he was one of my favorites to end up taking over the job at Duke. I think he had I think he give him about maybe 3 or 4 more years. I think he would have had an opportunity. I think he would have been like head assistant with Shire, because he was one of the guys that I was thinking, man, Nolan Smith could end up being the next head coach at Duke, next great head coach at Duke. And so I think, just hearing all these things, great recruiter, great people person, he's always around Duke culture, and he represents Duke culture. He was one of my favorites, and I think Louisville to snag him, I think just shows, man, the value in that, because you don't just pick somebody up like that as associate head coach, that young and someone that really doesn't have that much like head coach experience. But hey, I mean,
but he sat at the feet of Coach Mike Krzyzewski.
Right.
Right.
And that right there, what'd you say? What'd you say?
Sometimes everybody say, Lindsay, sometimes that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
Right.
Your subtleties be just as powerful. You like, yeah, he sat at the feet of Coach K. Everybody know that. And he probably holding up his phone. I got Coach K's phone number. He picked up when I called. So when you think about it, that associate coach, now that I think about it more, wasn't so. In other words, it's saying we're giving you the title of close confidant to Coach K. So we're basically leveraging some current Coach K. Because I don't care what you say. Hey, I don't know if this was real or not with the NBA. They said LeBron says, hey man, it's gonna be an opening, this summer, for the Lakers. What if Coach K turned around and, he was being approached by the Lakers a long time ago. What if Coach K pop up next season coaching the Lakers?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Jay said, don't do it.
Don't do that. Stay out of that.
Let me tell you what the good thing about that. In his farewell article, they talked about his experience with USA basketball, and he had to learn a lesson because it was Dwight Howard that checked him when he was talking crazy, talking to these boys like they was in college. And Dwight Howard hit him with the "who you talking to," and he had to take a step back. And there was a situation we may have talked about before when Kobe was doing Kobe and going into his zone and not passing the ball. And LeBron was like, hey, man, you better handle that shit, is what LeBron said. So they had to figure out. So I think he's capable. But I wouldn't be surprised, like, if they went to him and said, look, man, we know you just retired, but here's an opportunity right now. And he might be thinking, man, I better take this thing now. I could do it for a couple.
He was walking with his wife hand in hand, walking up the court. He's done. His wife is like, you bet not.
He's done. He's done at Duke. He's done the Lakers.
With their situation, I mean, with their situation with the salary cap and the no draft picks, stay out of that one. That's a trap. Good, hey, that's a trap. Enjoy retirement. Maybe come back in a few years when you got like maybe 2 or 3 left.
Come back to what? Come back to what? What opportunity? Let me say this though, Terry. The only reason I say there's a possibility is for 2 reasons. I'll give you two reasons why. UNC beat them at home for the final game, and he cussing everybody out. And UNC knocking them out of the Final Four. Coach K legacy is not. He don't want to leave his legacy like that, cuz I don't see it. Yeah. I think his name is going to resurface as a possibility to come back and bring. I mean, come on, you go from Frank Vogel to Mike Krzyzewski, and what he can bring, and then you go leverage that whole USA basketball piece.
I would say, Lindsay, at a minimum, he comes back like Beeline to the Pistons, a special assistant to the Lakers.
To work his way in. That probably would be best. Because you got to take that year off just to kind of chill for a second.
Yeah. You come back as you're going to get that payday, special assistants just to be that sounding board for whoever they bring in.
And then for him to also get acclimated to what's going on. I got guys, we're running good with time. A few more things I want us to get to. I'll briefly talk about Michigan State football, and we'll touch on the draft and Tiger. I got a chance to get over there this week. Shout out to Coach Tucker. Shout out to several of the coaches I got a chance to talk to, including players. Had a little trolling going on social media. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I posed a question to two-sport athlete Keon Coleman, just like Malik Carr. They're playing both basketball and football. And the question I posed to him was, what has it been like playing 2 sports, and how do you manage when people talk about, you choosing one over the other? And he had a great response. He said he blocks out the noise. Well, I had some troll on social media on Twitter call my question a BS question. I said, wow, dude, you kind of talking kind of reckless. There's a BS question. And I never heard anybody. Then he started attacking me. I don't know who you are. Nobody's never heard of you. All this type of stuff. And it really looked like it was going to get into one of those fake news type conversations that I was getting at from him. Being that I'm my own man, representing SPS, but I also have a great respect for Michigan State's athletics, so I didn't want to blow it up like that, man. But I was like, dude, you're not in the same room that I am. You're not having the conversation I'm having with people. And then the question was, what has it been like for you your whole career like that? Not just now. I said, you so caught up on want to be insulting. So he said, I'm not apologizing. You don't have a source. I mean, he was really tripping. Well, I pulled up his profile and he just kind of fit the profile of those people who be screaming fake news. And my last comment to him that shut him down, I said, dude, you don't know how ignorant you sound. So anyway, I only share that to say the question was valid. It was really valid based on some other information I heard, very recently, but it was an overall question about what it's like. And Keon was really great in his response. We even dapped each other up afterwards. But a lot of great things are going on over there. But when you talk about athletes playing two sports, Terry, what do you think about that? Do you see that as, even Malik made the comment, they asked him about him coming back to play basketball again. He said, well, his goal is to get drafted in the NFL. If he has a great football season, get drafted, it's a wrap. He said, but if I come back, we'll see. So these guys aren't all double down committed. It's kind of like I'm doing this until I do something else. What do you think about that two-sport athlete at the Big Ten level?
I mean, with all due respect, I mean, they're still kids. I mean, they still have interest in two sports. I mean, both feel like they have an opportunity to play.
Ability.
Why not? I mean, it's like, I think it's one of those things where like people get so into trying to tie these kids down and trying to know them so much and try and know them wire for wire. Like, I know he wants to do this or he should do this. Just let the kids play, man. That they were just freshmen. They're coming into sophomore year. They're still learning and growing. They're still growing into their bodies, So I think, just let them enjoy themselves. I mean, it's not hurting as long as it doesn't hurt Coach Izzo and Coach Tucker, and they're not getting backlash, which the backlash to me is the scouts, whether it's NBA scouts or NFL scouts. As long as that group of people isn't offended or it doesn't seem like this is a problem for them, that's all that matters. If Coach Izzo is endorsing you to play for Coach Tucker and Coach Tucker is sitting courtside at your basketball games, need I say more? Like, who cares? So Play, do what you need to do. I think Carr being open and saying that my goal is to get drafted, I think that's very important there too, because it shows he has priorities. He's football first. If all goes wrong and he needs to step away from basketball, we know he's willing to do that. Coleman, I think, is still trying to figure out which one, because we see he's quick with the basketball, but I think he's more of a football guy too. But I never want to limit that. I'll rather you feel that out for yourself, have that guidance around you, and figure it out for yourself, because I think that's in college is where you kind of figure that out, whether it's academics or it's athletics. You figure out who you are as a person, which avenue you need to go on. But it's better to have a lot of options than no options. So enjoy yourself with all the options you got, because all the naysayers and all that, they're trying to pin you down to one sport. They probably didn't have any options at all. Enjoy yourself, have those two options, and then pick the one that fits you. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, Orlando, what do you think?
No, I agree with Terry. I mean, these kids enjoy yourself. If you're in college, if you're capable of doing it, and for me, if it doesn't affect your academic status or the grade falling, it's fine. I mean, you got to realize, especially in this day and age, coming from the high school level, come on, every athlete is a multi-sport athlete in high school.
Yeah,
especially nowadays. I've got young ladies, 3 sports. They're rocking. They're rocking. They go to volleyball, to basketball, to track.
Yep.
And it's it's what they enjoy. It's what they love. I mean, it's good for them. As long as they enjoy it, they can do it without affecting, their academics. I'm all for it. I know it changes a little bit at the next level. I know that there's a transition coming from football to basketball. They aren't the first to do it. There's a certain different sort of conditioning for both. There's going to be that transition where Izzo's not going to be able to drop them right in the lineup. They're going to have to adjust physically. But by mid-season, they should be, good to go. So, I mean, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, the coaches talked about that. Courtney Hawkins gave guys a compliment saying, man, they haven't skipped a beat, because they really went from the end of basketball season. Both of them came right over. I think they spent some time in the facility, and the next day, they were on the practice field. But again, my question to Keon was about, just overall. Yeah, you're in a space right now where everybody's supporting. Coach Izzo, Hall of Fame coach, is supporting it. These guys were recruited to play football. That is, they had D1 offers other places, but for them to be able to have that support. And again, my man, I don't know if he was just being not really looking at everything or just seeing something and jumping on it, but man, went all in. I'm like, come on, man, you tripping. Terry McCord has been so gracious that he is going to allow us to forego his NFL draft preview to week after next, because for the sake of time, I want to be able to go deep in that. And I think, Terry, what we probably better do is by then, we'll also better do the NBA draft preview that give us a little bit more time. So we'll look at week after next, because we'll be off next week, to do NFL draft and an NBA draft. But the last thing we do have before we get up out of chair is your boy is back. T. Woods is back in the building. Tiger Woods is back, man. That's all they've been talking about. He teed off at 11:04 today, finished up in about 5.5 hours at 1 under. They were talking about him, man, and one of the commentators made a good point. He said, I learned a long time ago not to underestimate Tiger Woods. People say, okay, he's back to play. This is not for show. He's not back just to say, I want to get through the course. He's back trying to win. One unique thing about Augusta is that they say it's probably one of the most hilly places you'll be on, and that walking with his, surgically repaired leg, as well as his bad back is a big thing. But I think it speaks to, the question of, are these golfers elite athletes? And in Tiger's case, it is, man. You see how cut up and ripped he is? You know what I'm saying? You see him just his play, like, my man, like, dog, I'm out here to get it done. And last thing I'll say before I go to you guys is that the mental aspect, they talk about golf being one of the most mentally challenging sports out there, and I hear that all the time as a sports psychology consultant. And they say it's the mental game, but the disadvantage of him having these physical challenges being out on the course is that sometimes it leads to mental mistakes. But, to be playing 1 under one of the toughest courses in the country, at the Masters, the major event, and going into, the second round of play, man, I can't be mad at him. Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I just know Tiger, is in the room of like your Brady's, LeBron's, your Michael Jordan's. He's the ultimate competitor. He's someone that I feel like if he wasn't coming back, he wouldn't see that there's a chance to win. And I think for him coming back is a bigger is a bigger statement to say that he feels like he can win. I feel like if he didn't feel like he'd win, he would sit this one out, or he'd wait till next year, or who knows, come in a different tournament. But I mean, what a better tournament, the Masters. I mean, he's coming back, and the granddaddy of them all, the green jacket. I think just for him to come back for this tournament says a lot about where he's at mentally. I mean, he wants to compete, he wants to win still. And I mean, golf isn't to where it's like football, where it's that wear and tear. But I mean, the Masters is one time a year, so you gotta wait another year. And I think he was like, man, this is my time. I want to come back here and I want to see what I can do. And I think ultimately too, being an athlete, sometimes you just want to show yourself that you can still compete. Mm-hmm. I think with Tiger at his age, I think he's like, I just want to see if maybe I can make it to the final days, or maybe see if how far I can get until I'm out of the tournament or I don't make the cut. So I think I wouldn't say it's like a stunt. I think it's just for him to kind of prove to himself, like, hey, I still have this drive. I can still compete with these guys. I may not win, but I know that I can still compete. And I think that just makes his day a little bit to show that, man, like I did well on that hole. I did good on this hole. Just really to give him, uplift his spirits, at that age of playing in this sport.
Yeah, I like that, Terry. In Orlando, what I'm thinking, Terry made a good point, several good points, but when he talks about uplifting the spirit, we don't know, man. We got to remember this guy had a near fatal car accident.
Right.
We could have been saying RIP Kobe, RIP Tiger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That type of tip. And you kind of touched on it, Terry, the mental motivation. Like, what was motivating him? Like, I mean, if I got to go play in the Masters. He's probably looking at the calendar like, but what was such a stunt move? And I say this in a positive way, like stunt in a good way, to pull up at the Masters a couple days before with his son, homeboy. Like, we go walk the course just to see how I feel. Gangster. When your son is able just to walk Augusta with you in a practice round just to see if you go play and you got your best friend with you, I just think that's amazing. And say what you want, there's always been controversy about Tiger acknowledging his, his identity as being black. At the end of the day, I love it. I love it because the masses not talking about it, but I'm seeing a black man who can pull up at Augusta, and I can only imagine what the communication was like. Like, hey man, I think I'm gonna walk today. And they probably were scrambling. They talked about some other pro golfers who saw him walking that was running up to him, asking if they could play with him. And he was like, no, he declined. So I'd rather play by myself. Then he'd come back around and chit chat with everybody. But that's what I love, man. It's like, and I guess what I could take from that, Orlando, is that it's kind of going that NIL thing. If you got the talent, man, they're going to have to give it to you, baby. They're going to have to give it up. And Tiger pulling up in the PJ, landing at Augusta to just practice, just to see what I'm going to do. I love that. That right there warmed my heart. What do you think, Orlando, about everything and Tiger being back?
The ultimate competitor. There's no, Terry, I don't think it's about seeing if I can do it or see how I finish. It's about let's go win this. I don't see anything from his history and everything else in his mind. He out there to win it, nothing less. Just a true competitor. Yeah, he's serious about it. Yeah, we have to keep an eye on Tiger and watch. And don't be surprised if on Sunday he got on that red. Then he got the new Nike swag. It's like the collarless shirt. I don't know if you guys peeped that, where it's like, whatever. I'm like, I'm over here feeling Tiger. I can't wait to get out there this summer too. That's something we got to get some golfing, guys. We got to get out there.
Check the size on there. It might be a size too small. He got a little medium or something.
You wearing that medium, you can see his heartbeat like this.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's trying to look extra ripped out there or something.
We're gonna see, man. Well, again, we've had another great show. I want to thank everyone who's made their comments, checking in on us and whatnot. Again, we will be off next week for family reasons, just like Tiger showed up at the Masters with his son. I got to show up at my daughter's art fair and be in the building. Hey, got to do it. Yeah. I appreciate you guys' your flexibility. But when we come back the following week, Terry's going to crack our head with this NFL draft preview. We do some NBA draft preview, and we know it'll be much more to talk about in sports. And you guys got anything before we get up out of here?
Yeah, I'm good.
Everybody's good to go. Well, this is Lindsey Huddleston with Orlando Watkins and Terry McCoy Jr. for the SPS Edge Show. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.